Firstly, plug the skill guide in, which is on the mannequin's right hand shoulder. The next thing you do is you do one chest compression. This switches on the skill guide. Now let's look at how we use the skill guide and how we go through each mode. When it first switches on, it starts in teaching mode. This is where the light bulb is illuminated on the left hand side. If you press the button once, it goes on to blind mode. This is where you don't get any feedback and you have to rely on your skills. Press the button once again and you get the results. Next time you press the button, it will go back to teaching mode and it will clear your results. So make sure you don't accidentally press the button too many times and clear your results. This is how you do hands-only CPR. You want to interlock your fingers together and you're going to place your hand in the centre of the person's chest between the nipples. The depth you're going to compress is about 1/3 of the person's chest height. So in this case, it's about so much. If the person was a big person, you'd need to push down a lot deeper. And if it was a very small person, you're going to have to push a lot less. But always we push down 1/3 of the depth of the person's chest. Now you're going to interlock your fingers and push down on the centre of the chest, and you're going to do this at the tempo of 100 to 120 beats per minute. That's Nelly the Elephant, Another One Bites the Dust, or Staying Alive. We're now going to look at hands-only CPR. So at the tempo of 100 to 120 beats per minute, pushing down on the person's chest, you're hopefully going to have all 3 lights illuminating. That's release, depth, and rate. If you go too fast, the orange light to the right hand side of rate will illuminate. That means you've got to slow down a bit. If you go a bit too slow, the orange light to the left hand side of rate will illuminate, so you need to speed up. If you're not pushing deep enough, the arrow pointing down towards the word depth will illuminate. And if you don't release, the orange arrow pointing up towards the word release will illuminate. Once you finish your CPR, you can push the button twice on your skill guide and it will now come out with the results. In this case, 89%. You'll see the arrows by the word release and depth illuminated, implying that I need to sort out those problems to hopefully achieve as close to 100% as we can. If the arrows by the word rate illuminate, that would imply we've got problems with the speed. If you press the button once more, it clears the screen and allows you to start again. This is hands-only CPR at the correct speed and the correct depth. We're now going to look at doing the rescue breaths as well as the chest compressions. So we're going to do 30 compressions and then we're going to do 2 breaths. Back to 30 compressions, 2 breaths. We're going to do this until we physically can't do it any longer, until help arrives or until they start breathing normally. To put the breaths in, we actually need to tilt the head back to help open the airway and lift the chin. We also need to pinch the nose to stop the air coming out of the nose, and then we need to open our mouth wide enough to cover the whole width of the mannequin's mouth. And then we're going to breathe in. We'll now have a look at using the skill guide for when we do the chest compressions and the rescue breaths. You'll see on the right hand side of the screen of the skill guide it's now counting up the chest compressions. What you'll notice when we come to put the breaths in is the lungs illuminate on the bottom of the skill guide. So that's now showing we've done 2 breaths, and it's now counting again the chest compressions we're doing. It's really important that when we do the rescue breaths we don't overinflate the person's lungs. If we do that, we'll possibly induce vomiting. What we'll see now is that when you do overinflate the mannequin, is that you get a halo appear on the outside of the lungs, as you'll see on those two. Looking at the skill guide now, we can see that I'm not releasing enough there. Now I'm releasing correctly, but I'm not going quite fast enough, so I need to increase the speed. I'm putting some breaths in, and actually the second breath I put in, I'm overinflating, because you'll see the halo appear on the outside of the lungs. And this happens again on the next set of breaths I do. So this is the real benefit of the skill guide. Again, you can see I'm going too slow, so I need to do something about it, speed it up. And here we go for the breath. I've not done enough compressions, I've only done 24. Again, overinflated on the second one. And all this is getting registered and will count towards the percentage scores you get when you press the button to get the results. I now cut the middle of the clip out just to save a little bit of time. But when we get to the end, we're going to push the button on the skill guide twice. We'll now get the results. And you'll see I've got 65% next to the heart. That shows you my percentage score for my chest compressions. And you'll notice the little arrow pointing up towards release. So that was one of the reasons why it was 65% and not a higher percentage. Next to the rescue breaths, I've got 92%. And these are the numbers we're looking at. And we ideally want to achieve at least 70% in both those areas.